Hey guys, Tim Fraser from 5D Options. I'm here to pick up on the next step in the journey of 90 days to new beginnings. So, where we left off last time was really about talking about the value systems that both you hold as well as where the company is. And what I wanted to reflect on some data points that really help understand how and why is it so important for us to be able to really apply new ways of engaging with our employers as well as our employees and as a leader in the company. What is it that really is the motivation for people to work harder and work with you and be more collaborative? And I'll quote Justin Wright, who is a top producer on LinkedIn. I'll quote some numbers. He said, based on the market research, it looks like 80% of the people being appreciated makes them work harder. Think about that. If you can create a space to have the emotional quotient that is high in your language and how you interact with your teams, and create a space that's safe, create a space that allows them to speak freely and openly, but also be valued in terms of what they do. It really changes the game in terms of how and how the employee is going to produce and be in alignment with your your goals and the company, both professional as well as personal, for team building and all that kind of stuff. So why? So the value of being feeling more appreciated really comes down to being motivated, and the motivation skyrockets, job satisfaction increases, the team output improves, and the company values are really is what the best results show up in. And it's really important to recognize, it's important to be genuine and be frequent about the value that the recognition of their value that they bring to the table and how you recognize them. And it really is also really important that this doesn't just come from some fellow members on the team. It needs to come from leaders in the organization. It needs to come from the manager, the company leaders, the managers, and the way to do that is really to follow through by saying thank you for even small things. And I covered that on the last video, how I've done that in the past and how people create personal loyalty, not just to me, but it's really the company culture that you represent. So it's being able to say thank you, writing personal notes to show you care, recognizing their contributions by providing them a meal, a dinner, or a thank you that's appropriate to their value system, understanding how and what they're valued the most, and really going into a place to support that, sharing success stories in company meetings, being regular and ask them how they're doing and what they're doing and what the contributions are, and giving rewards both structured and unstructured at the company level. So those are really the key top things that I think make a difference to a lot of people when it comes to a manager's message in the words. So I want to cover a couple of things today. Where does that come from? If you're a leader in the organization, where does that motivation and excitement come from? It really comes from within. You're not going to get it on an HR training program that is the structure that says you must follow these procedures and get it. You've got to come from it naturally. It's got to be coming from you personally. How and what you say, it really matters. So the first order of business is really being self-aware, encouraging your people to be self-aware about how they reflect their emotions and your reactions to their emotions. Creating a space, like I said, that allows people to truly be themselves. Being in a place where you to allow the employee or your staff to be able to make mistakes, but also be reflective on what is going right and what's going wrong, and what they can do to make a difference. Being self-aware is part of that. So don't catch people doing something wrong, catch them doing something right. And that's really part of the feedback loop that you need to create a safe space to create, to say, yes, this didn't work, and this also did work. So that's number one. Also, emotional quotient, one of the behaviors that you want to reflect is also self-regulation. In other words, if somebody comes to you with a problem, make sure that the people understand that it's safe, like I said earlier, but it's really also being able to resist from being sort of going into solving the problem. You need to hear them. You need to hear the employee. You need to hear what they're saying. You need to be able to understand their perspective. because it's possible that they have a lens that you don't see from that perspective. And as I said in one of my first videos, there is no one lens for the truth. There's multiple lenses for what looks like the truth. There may be more truths along the one way. There may be more truths in another direction. But these are all lenses towards the same thing. And you have to be able to self-regulate yourself to say, well, I need to see this from various perspectives, the situation that may come up. You need to show empathy in what are uh, the situation. You know, if it's emotional, if it's intellectual, or whatever the situation is, being foster the understanding and having compassion towards you or your employees' emotions in this process. Um, I'll give you an example. I had an employee that was a female who managed her emotions by crying. It didn't matter. It wasn't about being weak or anything like that. It was really about when she came into my office and she had a problem and she wanted to have me here, I would need to be empathetic about the fact that she processed her emotions by letting the tears release. And that was a good release for her. And I actually created a space by, learning how to support her, to let it out, hand her a Kleenex or tissue, and just keep going. There's no judgment. There's no concerns about being feeling that she's weak or anything like that. It was really about just being in an empathetic position to say that this is how she processes her emotions, and other people process emotions differently. You got to find the right place, and just being in a place to listen, and being in a place to be able to truly hear the person and allow them the space to truly open up so you can hear what's really bothering them. A lot of times people will not talk about what's bothering them within the first few things that they tell you. It takes about three possible attempts to pull things from them for them to create the message. And you ask questions like, so tell me what's bothering you, and tell me what you think, tell me what you ask, and you keep putting it out there, and don't be afraid to use the power of silence. You just set the question and you wait for this, and you create the silence. It doesn't have to be air filled with words and messages. Just be in a place to allow that silence to give the person the space to process their emotions, come forward with what's really bothering them, and that creates the intelligence of what we need to handle at a human level. Okay. Also consider the fact that social skills are a major part of this. Are the people in your team able to build rapport with each other? Do they have relationships with coworkers? Do they have conflict within each other based on how they socialize a topic? Are they the chatterboxes? Are they the ones that create the problems and messaging and the telephone message where it goes from one to the other and it changes along the way? And how does that play into the situation at hand? Really understanding the social skills of the individual and where they're coming from. What's their personality? Do they hold it in? Do they bring it out? Do they have a lens of I can't do enough, I can never do enough, or is it really where they're overachievers and they feel overconfident? You got to understand all the dynamics that play into that. By the way, if you have not had a chance to look at this, the Enneagram, Enneagram, those it's yet another. It's one of the oldest personality profiling tools. So it allows you to see yourself with some very core understandings of your when you were born and aligned to the stars, that kind of stuff. But it's really behavioral, and it's also based on how you came into this world and what are your core beliefs, not only from your, as a birth, element, but really your social cultural structure that has taught you to behave a certain way, and understanding how your enneagram plays. One person's enneagram may be a direct opposite of the other person's, and when they say something to each other, they're probably not talking of the same language. And being aware of these elements, and there's many other personality profiling tools that allow you to do that. I just resonate with the Enneagram because it's probably the oldest one out there that has been nobody knows. It goes back to the Chinese era, early Chinese dynasties. So recognizing the emotions in each other's, recognizing the situation, knowing how to do conflict resolution. These are really core pieces of how to create a space where you can allow the person to communicate what they need to communicate and create the awareness of a situation that you need to be involved in or not. Maybe they just need to speak and that's all it is, and maybe you need to take action, but you need to be careful about jumping in to solve a problem too fast and allow the space to do that. So these are the EQ elements of the emotional quotient as leaders that we need to embrace to create a space for the employees to take a better look at the communication they're creating and the space that you create for that. So leadership development, making sure the feedback loop is there, and creating a supportive environment. Those are the key elements of what I'm talking about. So let's talk a little bit about how do you implement these. These are really key pieces of interpersonal communication that are nonverbal and they're verbal as well. So know how the person's speaking, know how they're communicating, see how they're sitting, see how they're holding. If they're holding their arms, with the closed mindset, have you created the space for them to be open and be give you the insight that maybe they can't communicate verbally. Okay, so these are the main pieces I wanted to cover today because these are the foundations of how we can move in a way that allows us to be able to truly understand the alignment of where we are as leaders to our teams, but also you can use these exact same topics with your managers and your leaders in the company. Are they creating the space to where you're aligned with the way you want to be handled? Are you basically handling the leadership upward management with your teams and your managers and your leaders in the company in a way that gives you the ability to truly be heard and being genuine and being real. So feeling appreciated is really one of the key topics that I wanted to cover today. If you got any questions, we can certainly chit chat on the chat box on this video channel. And till next time, we'll build on this structure and we'll go to the next level on the 90 days of new beginnings. First order of business is to know where you're coming from and know how you interact and what your alignment is. And we'll leave it on that today. So till next time, Tim Fraser at 5D Options. We'll talk later. Thanks again.